Hey y'all, welcome back to Babeinlibrary. It's your girl Lisa, and today we're going to talk about my April reading plans, better known as my April TBR. I am saying my reading plans because I plan on reading every single one of these books, but truth be told, I tend to lose the plot along the way. I come in with the best of intentions, telling you all the things I'm going to read, and somewhere along the way, I have a squirrel moment, and I follow that squirrel all the way down the rabbit hole, and I'm reading everything but my TBR. However, this is my first TBR for 2026, and that is intentional because I took the first 3 months off to do an experiment. I wanted to see whether or not I could stick to the books that I said I was going to read and hold myself accountable without a video component. So I'm here. I'm happy to say that 2 out of the 3 months I crushed. In January, I read 7 out of 8 books that I said I was going to read. And in March, I read 7 out of 9. Now in February, I don't know what happened. I couldn't even tell you. I had a list of books that I was going to read, and I think I maybe read 1 or 2. Now, I have a stinking suspicion that's going to be the case for 2026. And what I mean by that is I have a feeling that in my odd months, I'm going to stick to every single plan I set. I'm very much going to be channeling my January and March reader. In my even months, I'm going to be living the carefree life of doing whatever I want. And the reason why I say that is I have 2 events that I'm going to go to this year that are in odd months. So I'm for sure going to Petals and Prose, which is going to be in my hometown, St. Louis. And I'm going to be meeting and engaging with authors, and I'm going to be reading their books. In September, I'm going to be going to Cubed in Chicago, and I'm going to be reading those books in preparation for that event. But I don't have anything in my February, my April, my June. So I'm pretty sure that is when chaos is going to ensue. So I'm going to talk to you all about all of the books that I plan to read. We're going to come back at the end of the month and see how I did. But one of the things that I know I want to start with is With Love from Harlem by Rashonda Tate. Now, this book came out in January, and I did have an arc. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get to it in time, but I'm going to rectify that in April because I did just pick up the audiobook copy. Now, this one has had my eye ever since I read Harlem Rhapsody last year. I have been itching to get back to the Harlem Renaissance period. And this one centers Hazel Scott. Now, Hazel Scott is a real person that was in the Harlem Renaissance and helped to shape our culture, but a lot of people don't know about her, and I am one of those people. I have always heard of Hazel Scott, but I don't know if I could tell you exactly how she influenced our culture today. So I do want to read her book, get a little bit more of insights, listen to her music, really transport myself back into the time in the environment. And I'm hoping to do so very soon. So that is one of the books that I will be reading. Another book I will be reading is an arc that actually comes out in April, and that is going to be Struck Speechless by Tati Richardson. Now, I will be seeing Tati at Petals and Prose, so I will be reading this before I get to meet with her in May. And this is her sequel in this particular series that had Losing Sight. Losing Sight was the first book that was released last year. I absolutely loved it. And this one is going to be Arrivals to Lovers. It is going to be following 2 sports agents and them being in their professional career. Again, one of the things that I love about Tati Richardson and or T.M. Richardson is her other pen name is that she is writing older characters that are in their late 30s, early 40s, sometimes in their 50s. And that is the representation and love that I want to see on page. I want to see people that are deeply rooted in their career, that have lived and experienced life, but are also open or coming back and receiving a second chance at love. So Struck Speechless is definitely one that I will be reading this month and letting you know my thoughts about it. Continuing on, one of the big things that I have set for this year in particular is to continue on with series or finish series. I am going to finish out the duology for J.L. Seeger's polyamorous romance. So I'm going to read A Taste of Sin. It is a political romance that also has that romantic suspense. And the cliffhanger that we just left off on was one that I'm like, oh, what are we going to do here? Because everyone looks like they're going their separate ways. However, still have to be in close contact with each other. Because again, in this story, our FMC is the first lady, and the men that she is in love with are her Secret Service agents. Unfortunately, they serve at the pleasure of the president, and that person is her husband. So I want to see how J.L. Seekers wraps up this duology, how things go, because the suspense in the end of the last book was very, very high, and the cliffhanger dropped us very, very low. So I will be reading this to finish out that duology. And then I have another duology that I'm going to be finishing, and that is Married to a Rich Gangsta 2. This is by Tatum James. I read this one last September, and let me tell y'all, this book here, part 1, chef's kiss. I was so glued in and so tapped in that it surprises me that it's been this long since I've decided to read part 2. Now, part 2 is one of those things where I'm like, how is this going to happen? Because I very much recall the male main character not being around. Like, this person, in my mind, is incarcerated. But am I remembering wrong? How are they going to get back with the FMC, and what is going to happen? That's where I'm here to tell you I have got to find out. And it's quick, so I have no reason why I should not knock this out in April. Now, the next 2 books I'm going to read are part 2 and part 3 in the King's Dynasty series. So I'm going to be reading King's Proposition. This one is another rivals to lovers romance. Our FMC and the MMC own different resorts that are always in competition with one another. And that's always burned a candle for the two. Like, they've always been interested in one another, but they know each other is the competition. So they're like, we could never be, unless we take a minute to get it out of our system. So I'm very interested in reading this one. I really do love these character cover arts because, again, I am typically not an illustrated cover, but these are stunning and gorgeous. And Aisha Bree actually just redid these covers. So the new covers are just as equally beautiful, but I'm happy to have this edition. So this is book 2 in the series. And then book 3 in the series is King's Catch. This one is a friends to lovers romance where the male main character has been a playboy and his best friend has never once looked his way, or at least figured she would give him the opportunity just because he can't settle down. And she is in a relationship currently until she starts to see that her friend in a different light because she's confiding in him and he's giving her solid, sound advice. And she's like, when did you grow up on me? And matter of fact, when did you get fine on me? And so this is one that I am very interested in reading because this male main character, when I first seen him, I was like, oh, his story is going to be good. And I'm hoping that Aisha proves me right. So I will be reading both of these in April. I will also be continuing on, actually finishing this set of the series. So right now I am reading Capri 3. This is the bind up. I am almost done with Capri 3 and I will be moving in Capri 3.5, which will wrap up the Capri set. This is the third in the Delgado series, the final Delgado sibling that has their book. And I'm saying that because there's a lot going on in this universe. So much. There's so many, dotted lines to people. And we may or may not get another book from a Delgado in the near future. But in terms of this particular series, I'm going to finish 3.5 in April and close the chapter on the Delgados and move possibly into the Infernos with Qasim. I'm not putting Qasim on my TBR because I do need to take a break. I like to stretch out Jacquel's series because, again, they're so addictive and they are one that I could run through, but I've got to savor them. Like, I've got to get to the point where I'm like, okay, I need something to look forward to because I don't want to be pushing into her DMs. I don't want to be strung out on her books and being like, hey, where are they? Where are they at? Can I have them? Inject them directly into my ears. I don't want to be that girl. So I need to do what I need to do to kind of prolong the series. But I've got to finish out Capri 3.5. And so that's what I'll be doing in April. And then lastly, the only book that I'm going to tell you, because everything else will come when it comes, but these are books that I am for sure planning on reading. Because it is basketball season, I have been itching to read Loving the Legend by Kit Gray. This is a basketball romance where it is male. We have the rookie and the vet. They obviously have a little bit of tension. The vet is like, who is this person that's coming to steal my spot? And the rookie is like, I just want to play with you. Like, this is my dream. I look up to you. And they have to work with one another. And obviously feelings start to come, and respect turns into adoration, turns into love, and it turns into more. And I can't wait to read this and let you know my thoughts about it. That is pretty much what I've got for the month of April. I'm going to ask you all to do me a favor. Leave me a basketball emoji for Loving the Legend and tell me what you plan on reading in April or what series you need to continue on with, because this one is also in the series and I do have the second one, but I don't know if I'm going to read it in April. Again, I don't want to commit to too much right now. It seems like a lot, but tell me what you're going to read in April, what series you need to continue, and or leave me a basketball emoji, and I'll talk to y'all next time. Bye.